Everybody, so as you may or may not know, I've been in Montana covering the special election campaign, which took an absolutely insane turn today. Um, I was covering a Rob Quist event in Missoula. It was a standard kind of get out the vote, rally supporters type event, and it was basically interrupted when reporters who were on the scene started to get notice that a reporter in Bozeman, Ben Jacobs of The Guardian, claimed that he had been body slammed by Greg Gianforte, the Republican candidate for this special election race. So basically, it upended the entire race. It upended the coverage that these reporters were intending to carry out at the Quist event. They had to scramble and and figure out how they would modify their reporting angle. A number of the reporters who had been intending to cover Quist scurried off and drove to Bozeman, over 3 miles away from Missoula, to stake out the kind of police headquarters and figure out what happened in more detail. Um, and at the event, at the second event tonight, Rob Quist was, according to his communication staff, going to be available for media interviews and so forth. But he was uh, quickly sped off by his handlers, because the national reporters on the scene, who had come in from New York Times, Politico, and elsewhere, they were badgering him for comment on the body slamming episode. So unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to speak to him, even though I had been given assurances by his people that it would be a distinct possibility, in part because they wanted to usher him away as quickly as possible, so he wouldn't have to comment on this Gianforte body slamming issue. And now, to top it all off, as of, I don't know, a half hour or so ago, it has now been reported that Greg Gianforte has been charged with misdemeanor assault for this incident, which means that he'll be required to show up in court, Gallatin County Court, between now and June 7th. So he's now in a criminal process as he's contesting this election tomorrow. Will he appear in court tomorrow on election day? I don't know. Wow, that would be pretty crazy. I can't recall anything remotely similar to this happening in the recent future. If you can recall an event that's analogous to this anytime in the recent past, please let me know. I want to look into it. But now there are definitely a ton of reporters in Bozeman staking out Gianforte's movements. Obviously, they have to kind of, if he does show up in court tomorrow. I don't even know if court is open tomorrow because it's an election day. Is court still in operation? I honestly don't know the answer to that. But this is just an unbelievable crisis that the campaign of Gianforte has to deal with at this point. And the thing is, Gianforte was thought to have been favored in this race, and he may well still be favored, in part because there's been so many absentee ballots that have been handed in. Although Republicans are more likely to vote on election day than Democrats, so if this depresses turnout even to a small degree among Republican voters in Montana, then it could cost Gianforte the election. Now, one theory people have been sharing with me on the internet, and one that I think may have some validity is that that journalists are already so hated by especially conservatives in Montana that this actually won't prevent them or dissuade them from going out and voting tomorrow. In fact, it could have the opposite effect and energize anti-media conservatives to get out and vote. That's what a number of Montanans told me that they think will happen, and I don't know. It sounds plausible. In any event, it really is amazing. I'm sort of even struggling to find the words to describe the insanity of this event. The Missoulian newspaper just rescinded its endorsement of Trump of Gianforte, and so has the Bozeman Daily Chronicle. Now, is the rescinding of those endorsements really going to make a difference in terms of voter behavior? I don't know. It's possible. Again, I think there's some sliver of Republicans in Montana who actually would find this off-putting and maybe just stay home. I don't think they will vote for Quist, but they'll just decline to vote. But this could be the perfect storm of factors that could make Quist victorious, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens tomorrow. I'm going to be in Missoula through as the results come in tomorrow, and then through the night, and tune into this channel for continued coverage. I mean, we did a couple of videos today, all pre-assault, and they seem slightly irrelevant at this point, but nevertheless, I think you'll find some of that reporting edifying. We talked to an editor and a reporter at the Missoula Independent who have been covering this race and have interviewed Quist, and they gave their sort of particularized take on the dynamics of the race, and they basically feel like the race has been misinterpreted by national media who are trying to foist their own narrative onto a race which is essentially rooted in local dynamics. That's not an uncommon thing to have happen, but the Missoulian editor and reporter did a good job explicating why they feel that way. So that will be up probably tomorrow morning, so take a look at that, and we shall see what happens. Just wanted to make note of this development in video form. So that'll be it, and I'm just getting word now. It might have been the Billings Gazette. Hold on a second. Correction, the Billings Gazette rescinded its endorsement of Gianforte, not the Bozeman Daily Chronicle. Sorry about that. Maybe the Bozeman Daily Chronicle, will also issue some kind of statement as well, but I haven't seen it yet. Anyway, that'll do it for tonight. Go check out that audio of Gianforte freaking out at the reporter Ben Jacobs. Even just from the audio, Gianforte would be disqualified on the ground that he obviously can't contain his anger. I mean, if your reaction to being lightly hectored by a reporter to answer a question is to just start screaming, obviously you don't have the emotional control to serve in Congress. So even listening to that audio without getting the full details of what actually happened would lead one to believe that that Gianforte is not qualified to serve in Congress. And then the account that Jacobs put forward was doubly corroborated because the witnesses on the scene happened to be Fox News reporters, And they, if you look at their account, talk about how they were shocked by what Gianforte had done. They actually said that um, they actually wrote that Gianforte began punching the reporter as he was on the ground, and they said that Gianforte grabbed Jacobs by the neck with both hands and slammed him. So that's a choke slam. I don't know if you watched WWF as a child. I did. The choke slam was the signature finishing move of the Undertaker, Kane, and the Big Show, and that's a pretty serious move. That goes beyond body slam. That's a choke slam. It could really inflict serious physical pain. So it's just an amazing event. I actually spoke to somebody, and I tweeted this earlier, but I spoke to somebody who told me that they actually had firsthand experience with Gianforte in the past, and they weren't surprised in the least that Gianforte would have acted out in this manner because their experience of interfacing with Gianforte was that he was very easily susceptible to losing his temper, and that he had had outbursts in the past. Nothing that had rose to the level of physical violence, but which definitely did give the impression that he was unable to control his emotions in a normal way. So, for example, the example that the person gave was that at a business event that was formal and there were people that were there, Gianforte got agitated and threw something and stormed out and lost his cool, and there are other examples of that happening in his past. So, I guess for people who had been aware of Gianforte prior to this, they aren't particularly shocked that he would have behaved this way. But who knows? It may tip the election, and that would be pretty amazing because just a total monkey wrench thrown in at the last minute. Anyway, that'll now do it. Have a good night and tune in tomorrow for additional coverage. We probably will be live streaming some of the coverage on Facebook, so if you're a TYT Politics Facebook follower, subscriber, whatever the term might be on the lookout for that. I've done a little bit of streaming on Facebook already, but there will be more of that tomorrow from the Quist event and from elsewhere. So that'll do it. Have a good night.